G'day. This week it's all about the must-haves if you're going to do a long trip around Australia. If you're just going to do a short trip, most of them you can ignore, but certainly if you're doing the big one, this is something you should consider. Now these are my absolute must-have essentials, so you can make your own opinion about it. And I was very, very surprised to see my number one must-have item. I was really, really surprised. Stick around to the end and you'll find probably a little bit more than the 5 essentials. So let's go. Okay, let's run through them one at a time. First important thing, and this is something quite amazed me, is something that, as I mentioned earlier on, something is a must-have as far as I'm concerned. It might be a little bit different to you. It's a must-have for me because if I lost it right now, I would go out and buy another one sometimes tomorrow, or certainly most of them within the week. So number one priority to me is a set of thongs. Might sound a bit bizarre. So here we go. I'd be buying a decent set of thongs, not your dollar ones from a cheap dollar shop. I actually got mine from Aldi. Once a year I think they have them on sale. They're Havanas, and the first set I bought lasted a year. The second one I've got now, I'm well into the second year and they got ages left. So decent set of thongs. Where do I wear them? Wear them in the shower. Every time I have a shower, I wear thongs. Don't want any of those nasty little germs around my feet. Another place I wear them is if I'm on the beach and the sand is hot, I don't want to be running across the beach. And most other times, if it's hot, I'll just be wearing them around the campsite. So yep, a decent set of thongs. Next thing is glasses. I would have 2 pairs of sunglasses, and if you have to wear spectacles, 2 pairs of those. In fact, if you've got a Specsavers, I would buy the Specsavers and 2 cheapies, whatever is according to your eyes. Now it's probably not good for you, but if you lose your Specsavers, because it does happen, if you do, then you still want to be able to read if you've got bad eyes. And sunglasses, if you lose one and you're driving, you need a spare set just in case. Boots. These boots were made for walking and I've got a lot of value out of them. Now you can buy your basic cheapy ones, I don't know, pay $50, maybe $100, but I've chosen to get, in my consideration, one of the best. And this particular brand is not because, it's just that I've used them and I've got a lot of value out of them. They're made by a company called Merrell. And these particular boots I bought on sale in Anaconda. It's a good time to buy them because they're normally, I think, about $250. And when I got them on sale, I think they're 40% off. 2.5 years, they've got a bit of a wear on the toes. Otherwise, I'll probably at least get another 6 months. And the bottom of it's worn out a bit, but nothing major. Another 2 to consider, which I kind of can't show you, I guess, is there are the apps. Now, I really could not travel without WikiCamps. I use WikiCamps I use it to find out which ways, use it as a compass. I'll use it as the nearest camp to me, or the best value camp, or I'm using it on a daily basis. If I didn't have WikiCamps, then I could go paper maps, but there's another couple of other apps you could use as well. But to be honest, I don't see anything better than WikiCamps. Next one is Google Maps. Free, part of your phone, part of the system. Just don't forget, if you've got Google Maps, to download your offline maps so that you've got all your areas that you're moving into covered. Next is a set of tools. Now, I've probably got a ridiculous amount. I've probably got so many tools in my car that you could do some pretty major servicing on your car or caravan. But ones I could not live without is this little pack. Basically what they are, it's a little pack of tools, and not everyone's covered, but most of them are. And on one side you've got your little ratchet, which is fantastic, and an open ender on the other. And as I say, if I'm doing work on the car or caravan, which is probably once a week, I'm always using these. Sometimes I'll grab some other ones that I think that are important. This guy here, I absolutely love it. Again, if I lost this or if it broke or whatever, I would probably go and buy another one instantly. So yeah, look, it's just basically a fan, nothing really special about it. A couple of things I really love, not that I've got kids around, but if kids want it over the camp, it's very hard for you to get your fingers in there and get stuck on the fan, the actual fan blade, which I think is really good. On one side, you've got your two settings for the fan. One's just like a breeze. The other one's quite a strong breeze. On the other side, you've got a spray. So you've got these little spray parts to the fan. Now, I don't very often use it, but if I'm in absolute extreme heat and I just can't seem to get away from the, just so much heat, I will turn this on. So how that works is you plug this hose into a cup or a mug or into a bucket of water, and the water runs up here. You've got a separate switch for it. You flick the switch either on low, which just gives you a gentle spray, or full on, which gives you not a dousing, but it certainly throws some water out of it. And I don't use it all the time. I just get a bit of a spray, just like, oh, great relief, and I'll turn it off. The other thing I really love about this is, and it doesn't have to be Ryobi. I think Ryobi is the only one that has this kind of mix-up. I started off with Ryobi, and I just keep going with the Ryobi products because I don't want to keep getting different brands. Now, I bought this as a 18 volt because my entire system is 18 volt, but it's a 7 amp hour. So 7 amp hour does last a fair while, which is exactly what you want. And I didn't get this from Ryobi themselves because you can get it online for about, I think I paid about $39, but the genuine one is about $112. I've had one of these fail in the last couple of years, so that's not too bad. Another one is the air conditioner. Now, those that have been following me for a while, I started off with the little Caravan, got at the very top in Darwin, and the heat was just oppressive. Like, oh, I could hardly breathe. I was just trying to find places to cool down. And I looked into getting the then pop top converted over and putting an air conditioner on it, but it was just a ridiculous amount of money it was going to cost, so I didn't bother. I then got down to Perth, and I sold the little van and got this one because it had air conditioning. So air conditioning to me is very important. As well as the air conditioning is I would travel with a generator. Now, the generator brands I recommend, not because I'm affiliated with them, I'm always buying my own products like this. I'd either get a Yamaha or a Honda. If you're only going on a little short trip, I wouldn't even bother with a generator, seriously wouldn't. Like if you only go for a month or maybe a couple of months, don't bother. But a big trip, I got the generator. I started off again with a little 1 kV by Yamaha, quiet as the mouse, and it would run all day. I used that basically to top up the batteries and little things that I needed, just I need a little bit more power. I used it a couple of times to charge the battery on a flat battery on the car. My generator I've got now is a Honda, and it's a 2 kV. Now the reason I got a Honda is because again it's quiet, reliable, kind of nothing can go wrong with it. Although something did with mine, but that's just another story. But generally the Hondas never ever play up, quiet. And with the Honda 2 kV, I can run the air conditioner on the Caravan. So if I'm out off grid for maybe 2-3 weeks, and I don't want to have to go back in town, and it is just so oppressively hot, I'll run up the generator and get that air conditioning, and inside the Caravan it's like a little igloo. It's fantastic. Now beyond that is a water container. So the water container I'm recommending to get is this one. Now this is the water container I'm recommending, probably almost exactly the same as this. It's 15 litres, looking a bit shabby now, but I pop that in at the end of my drainage, pop that in underneath, and then I can be considered self-contained. Now there's lots and lots of caravan sites that you'll go to, camping sites you'll go to, that they'll insist that you must be self-contained. With this underneath the drainage at the back, and then I can, once it fills up or once it gets a certain amount, I can put the lid back on and then take it to a place where I can dump it, some grey water or black water. So this is well recommended. Probably a little bit naughty in the rules, but I'm not going to go to the expense of putting in a grey water tank just to facilitate that that rule, because this is doing exactly the same so long as I take all the water, dispose of it properly. Bug spray. Now this is actually not the right one, but I definitely recommend, obviously get some bug spray, to get the one that's called surface spray. I know Aldi sell it, and I'm pretty sure Bunnings sell it as well. The advantage of the surface spray is my holiday or my trip is destroyed for 2 weeks. It takes me 2 weeks to get over the first bite. If I get bitten by sandflies or midges, I come up with all sorts of lumps, and it takes me ages to get rid of it, and I just feel miserable for 2 weeks. Surface spray, you get inside the caravan and spray all of the fly wire where the on the windows, every fly wire from the inside out. That tends to last around about 8 hours, so that'll stop midges getting in. If you've already got midges inside, well, that's another issue. But it's just great to be able to stop midges getting in, because normal fly wire, midges or sandflies can actually get in and bite you, and as I said, becomes a pretty miserable situation if you're doing that. This one's a bit controversial, so here's what I don't think is a great value, is the Sattelite phone. The Sattelite phone, yeah, sure, pretty much it uses the iridium most of the time. That's the satellites it uses. The Sattelite phone, most of the time you're going to be covered anywhere in Australia, as long as you've got access to a clear sky and you point your phone up, you'll get reception. Now the thing is with Sattelite phone is you've got a rental payment, this is my understanding, I'm pretty sure I'm right, a rental payment for having the service like Telstra or whatever, so there's a service cost on that, and then every time you make a call it costs something like $1 a minute. Now for those with where money is no object, don't even worry about it, but for the average person that can be expensive, and you might phone a loved one, just, I don't know, you're a bit lonely or you're missing them or you just need to get hold of them. It doesn't take long to be like a 15-minute call and say, oh look, I've really got to go. They could potentially be offended, you feel guilty, and you can knock up some really big bills. The other thing you could have, again, I'm not overly in favour of it, is what they call an Epirb. Now the Epirb is about $200 or $300. You can get them from quite a few different stores. They'll last for 3 years, and after that you pretty much got to throw them away. And basically they've got a little button on them. Press the button, it's kind of a panic button, it's an SOS button. When that button's pressed, no one can contact you, but that then goes to your nearest emergency group of people who can actually receive the signal. They receive that the emergency signal has come from this particular point in Australia. That emergency service will then get SES and all the various emergency people, like flying doctor, the whole lot, on standby, because there's been an emergency out in the middle of nowhere where they can't get a police car or can't get communication back to you quickly or even at all, so they'll send out the cavalry. And in that cavalry they'll have ropes for abseiling, they'll have medical, they might be flying a plane out. There's a massive expense only to get out to find that, look, you were in trouble but you weren't kind of dying, and you weren't, it wasn't anywhere near the major catastrophe it could have been. Whereas I love these, and it's not necessarily Garmin, it's the one I've got. Great thing about this one is it acts as kind of a sat phone, sort of, and it also acts as an emergency beacon. So how this works, you turn it on, you don't do anything particularly clever with it. Now, as a service, I can send a text to loved ones and they can text back to me. There is a cost on it. You get, I think, half a dozen text messages per month, part of your rental package, and I can send a text, they'll send a text back. I'll send a text, they'll send a text back. As I say, it can be a little bit expensive, so keep an eye on it, or let your loved ones know when they send you back a message, make it no more than 2 or 3 sentences. Don't go and say, oh, Uncle Harold got a new car and stuff like that. The other thing is, the great thing about this is, if I hit the SOS, goes to exactly the same emergency people that the sat phone does. They get it. They will then send a text back to me and say, what's the crisis? I can then send back and say, oh, the car is turned upside down, I've got a broken leg, I can hardly move. They'll then send another text back and say, all right, well, if you can move at all, the nearest helicopter will be about 150 feet northeast, can you get that far? And they'll give me all instructions about how to splint my leg and all that sort of stuff. So we have a two-way communication. So rather than sending out planes and helicopters and ambulances and police cars, you've got a minimal of expenses. I'm not talking about the expense side, but just you don't want to be wasting resources. So I love this little thing. I know I'm going on a bit. I mentioned this one recently, and I'm not sure I explained it properly. Basically, it's an Australian Post credit card or debit card. And what you do is you go into the post office, you buy one of these, it might be a nominal cost of $5 or whatever, then you put in a certain amount of cash on it, and then it can work as a credit card or a debit card, will work as. So what happens is if you buy something with it, it just comes off the, say you put in $200, you buy something, the whatever it costs just comes off that $200. Now, the reason that this is handy to have in the glove box is in a sort of semi-emergency, you lose your wallet, lose all your cash or whatever, then you've got nothing, but at least in the glove box you have this kind of emergency. And then what you can do is you can book ahead. So when I recently got this and I had a similar crisis where I had no credit cards, no debit cards, anything, and only cash, I can book a campsite, quote this credit card number, and they'll accept the booking. So you really do kind of need that. Not an overly emergency, but pretty important. This is a power bank. I love these things. Get a reasonably good one and good quality. I sound like I'm always flogging Aldi. I got this Aldi in one of its sales, and it's not let me down at all, which has been fantastic. And also this particular one gives you a little digital readout of how many % you've got left on the power bank. How it works is and this is when you go out somewhere. This is important if you go out hiking. If you're going to go out hiking, take your mobile phone and take one of these, because if your mobile phone goes flat, you've always got this, which is just the same as plugging into the wall. Charge will come out of this into your phone, and your phone will fire up again. It'll last for as long as this, and it does last a long time. You'll at least get a couple of hours out of your phone, if not more. But if you take it, make certain, I've seen people say, oh yeah, I've got one of those, I've actually got him in a little backpack. And I say, where's the cable? Oh, I forgot. So without the cable, it's worth diddly squat. Make certain you've got the cable that goes out of this and into your phone. So that's the top 15. I know I promised 5, but top 15 that, as far as I'm concerned, if I was without them, I'd go seek them. I'd Google Maps, WikiCamps, I'd put back on the phone. I'd immediately buy a new pair of thongs and all those things I've mentioned. Oh, the other thing I didn't mention was a Caravan reversing camera. Now, as soon as I bought this Caravan, I immediately had the specialist put on a reversing camera that stays on all the time. So when I'm driving, I've got that plugged into the back of the car, and in the car I've got my own dedicated screen. I can see all the cars behind me. A couple of reasons that's really important. I can see people coming up behind me, really great in the cities and the big towns, because you'll see in the mirrors, you'll see, if you're lucky, you'll see someone back there, but with the camera you can actually see them come up right quite a way up beside the Caravan, and like well, you can see it a whole lot easier. And it's great too, because I'm travelling by myself. When I'm backing, I don't need, a lot of the time I don't have access anyway, but I don't want people saying, yeah, keep going. Oh, sorry, you hit the tree. I didn't see the tree, sorry. So I use that reversing camera all the time. Yeah, I'm backing back, and so on and so forth. And that's probably the top 15. As I said, I know I did promise 5, but threw an extra 10 just in case. as always, there you have it. Now you may have been surprised, I certainly was, about my number one must-have when I'm going on my big trip. If you found the video useful, helpful and or entertaining, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, now might just be the day. If you think the video is worth sharing, I would appreciate it. And until next time, this is Four Wheel Drive, signing off.